me. Today I'm here with my July mid-month wrap-up. I haven't done a mid-month wrap-up in a really long time because I just haven't been reading enough books to be able to do one. But so far, I'm filming this on the 15th of July and I already read 6 books. So I'm doing a mid-month wrap-up because I have no intention of slowing down. So yeah, I've been in a reading slump for the entirety of the year, so it feels good to like be reading properly again, and I've read every single day of the month of July so far, which I'm also really happy with, so yay. And yeah, I'm just gonna go over the books that I read so far this month, and then at the end of the month in the wrap up I'll give you my stats for the entire month, so I will also include these books because I just don't want to do like all the separate calculations for a mid-month wrap up. My spreadsheet just does it for the months, makes it easier on me. So yeah, there are 5 books, 4 physical, 2 galleys. Let's get into it. The first book out in the month of July is Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. This book follows a girl named Evie whose parents recently divorced, and ever since then she just like doesn't believe in love anymore. She doesn't think it's worth it, seeing the heartbreak that her mother went through, also just kind of the heartbreak that she went through because of this divorce. And then one day she sees her sister and her boyfriend kissing each other, and then she gets a vision of how their relationship went like from the start to the end, and she immediately like sees it as, oh, every relationship is gonna end in heartbreak, because she's starting to see these visions more every time she sees a couple kiss. So like she's immediately like, love's not worth it all ends in heartbreak. And then one day she meets X because she's entered into a dance competition and X is her partner, and they immediately have this sort of attraction, and she doesn't really know what to do with it because, like I said before, she has stopped believing in love altogether. And yeah, I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really love Nicola Yoon's writing, and this is her first book in a while that she's published, and I didn't realize how much I missed her until I was reading this book, because Nicola Yoon has like this concept that like sounds simple in theory. Because you like when you first like you read the book, you're like, oh, it's gonna be like a typical rom-com, but just like the way it's written just feels just like that a little bit more special, and I always love it. So I really loved the writing. I absolutely flew through this book. Oh, this was like, I'm definitely out of a reading slump when I read this book because I just absolutely flew through it. I couldn't put it down. I was addicted to reading it, like almost literally. I just had so much fun with it. I really loved Evie as a main character. Usually I don't typically love main characters that like gave up on love and don't believe in love, because I don't know, I always feel like their reactions are a little bit much for like the experiences they went through, if that makes sense. And I know it's never that believable to me, but I feel like in this book, like everything made sense. And then another thing why I don't love it is because there was a lot of hitting self-destruct buttons that wasn't in here. Evie like very clearly communicated her feelings towards romance with X when they got like further into the relationship, and he was very considerate of that, and I loved it. And just these 2 characters had so much chemistry together. I loved every second they were on page together because it was just so good. They had so much great banter, and they just, I don't know, they worked together really well, and I loved it so much. And yeah, kind of the only reason why this is a 4-star and a 5-star is because I do have some small problems with it. Like, I wish that the dancing competition that I talked about earlier was a little bit more prevalent into the story. I really loved whenever we got scenes of them dancing, and then I just felt like I was left a little bit hungry with that. Just wanted a little bit more of it. And then I also would have liked a little bit more of Evie's relationship with her family. We do get quite a lot of her in a relationship with her father, but I don't know, there were some moments where she was really like interacting more with like her mother and her sister, and I just felt like I wanted a little bit more of that. So that's why I didn't give it a full 5 stars, but for the rest of it, I did really love it. I also really liked how the visions aren't really like the main aspect of this book. It is just like very small and like happens every so often. It doesn't like take the overhand in the story, and I really like that. So yeah, highly recommend this book. Next, I read Sorrowland by River Solomon, which is a galley I got from NetGalley, and I gave 2 out of 5 stars to. This book follows a woman whose name I've forgotten. I feel bad now, but she grew up in this cult where it's like just for black people. It's very much like black people are superior and we need to be purified from like white people's nonsense. And she ends up running away from this cult, like escaping from it whilst pregnant of twins. So she survives in the woods surrounding this cult and while raising the kids, but she's also being chased by something or someone. Either way, it's the cult trying to get her back. And there's also some changes happening to her body that she can't explain, and it's a lot. I don't know how to say more than that without using spoilers. So if that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry, but I feel like if I say more, we'll get into spoiler territory, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, I am kind of complicated on how to review this book because I don't give it 2 out of 5 stars, which is very difficult to rate it that way because I feel like 3 out of 5 stars is usually just like a book I feel mad about, I'm indifferent about, and usually also one like I wouldn't really recommend because there's nothing to it that excites me in a good way or in a bad way, so I don't really know how to recommend it. Like I can hate a book, but I can still be like, oh, this wasn't for me, these things somebody else might like that I hated in it. But like when it comes to 3-star, like in my book, I don't know, you know? But I don't feel that way about the book because I want to push this in like everyone's hands that can deal with a book like this. Like there are content warnings like always in the description, so go check that out if you need that because there is a lot for this book. So if you feel like you can handle that, definitely check out this book because it's really good. It's really well written. I feel like it has some very important commentary on society as a whole. I really liked our main character. I liked the fantastical element in it. I loved like we got a lot of like flashback scenes like to the cult, and I also loved getting those and getting like more of an understanding on how it worked. It's just that I feel like at moments this book just dragged a little bit and it was just a bit too slow for my taste. I don't know, I would have loved if things just like progressed a little bit more quickly than they did in this book. And I feel like every character besides the main character was so one-dimensional and flat, and I never really got a grip on who they are. Like there are some characters that we don't like spend a lot of time with, so I get that, but like I mean characters' children, like we spent the entire book with them, we see them grow up over the years, yet I can't tell you anything about their personalities really because they were so one-dimensional and flat, and I just wish, I don't know, that it was a bit more development there. And yeah, that's why I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. But honestly, I would highly recommend this book to everyone out there. So yeah. Next up, I went out of my comfort zone and I read The Cousins by McManus, which I give 4 out of 5 stars. This book follows 3 kids. It follows Millie, Audrey, and Jonah, and they are all cousins, but their parents were disowned by their grandmother a couple of years before they were all born because they were around the same age, and nobody really knows why. So like the parents don't really know why they got disowned, and like they've tried to get in contact with the grandmother over the years and just like it hasn't worked. These kids don't know about it, and like because of that, like the parents have also kind of distanced themselves over the years from each other, like kind of like subconsciously, you know. It was never like a set decision. So the 3 of them don't really know each other, and then one day they all get a letter from the grandmother saying, because the grandmother's like super rich and like lives on this island that's kind of like, what's it called? It's kind of like Martha's Vineyard but like smaller, and it's neighboring to that as well, so it's like full of rich people, and the grandma owns like most of like the hotels there, and like there's this big resort that she owns, and they get a letter asking to like work on this resort for the summer because like their parents always worked there when they were younger as well, and the grandmother just thinks it's like a great experience, and like all of them are kind of like, why the fuck should we go? Like why the fuck should we bother? But at the same time their parents also like, you should probably go. There's a baby put us back in contact with the grandmother and like, I don't know, give back that sense of family we used to have. So they do, and very quickly they realize that this family is full of secrets that are need to be uncovered. And yeah, if you know me, I don't typically read a lot of mystery or thrillers because I don't know, just a genre that just always lands on that 3-star meh for me. It's never bad, it's never good, it's always, this is nothing. Like, it's giving me absolutely nothing. So I need to like steer away from it, but a lot of booktubers I follow, because mostly I just pick booktubers to follow based on like their personality and the content, not necessarily the books they read thrillers and mysteries, and I'm really into that. So I hear about a lot of them and I get intrigued. So here we are. McManus is an author I've heard a lot about, not necessarily this book, but her other books. And I just have been wanting to check her out for a while. I've had a couple of her books out from the library before, and I got this one. And I honestly had a fantastic time with this book. I don't think it is like the most like shocking. Like, there are some reveals in here that I definitely didn't see coming, or like were bigger than I expected, or just like a little bit different from what I expected. But it's not like the groundwork for all of the reveals is in here. Like Karen M. McManus really puts attention to her details, and like every time like a small detail is mentioned, it's gonna be important later on. So the groundwork is all there. So I feel like there's definitely like people who read more thrillers and mysteries will figure this out very easily and find nothing shocking about it. But I feel like that's also not where my entertainment with this book came from. I just really loved putting all these details together and coming up with theories. I really liked following these characters. I don't know, I had a great time reading it. I loved the setting, and I liked the whole idea, just like with this rich family full of secrets. I love rich people problems. One of my favorite shows is Dynasty, the new one, with Liz Gillies, of course, the queen. So I love rich people drama, and this was full of it. It also just had like this mystery element to it and like a lot of secrets. It's not necessarily like they need to solve something, it's just that there's a lot of secrets in his family and a lot of questions that these kids have as they come to the island. I like just figuring things out with them, as well as the three of them also have secrets of their own. And I don't know, I just thought it was so entertaining, and that's all I want from a book, to entertain me. I did have like minor problems with it. Like, I do feel like the characters could have been rounded out a little bit better. That's kind of like my main problem with it. I feel like the characters weren't as like rounded human as I would want. But yeah, there's also just like a romancy storyline in here that I felt a little bit weird about. So that's also the reason why it's not a full 5-star. But I did think this was like super entertaining, and I'm definitely going to be checking out more from this author really soon. So yes, let's talk about something else. The next book I read is The Last Fallen Star by Graci Kim, which is another guy I got from Nicola. I gave 4 to 5 stars to. This is a middle grade novel based on Korean mythology, and we follow a girl named Wiley who was adopted by her parents, and her parents like wield magic. They're healers, and usually like the magic gets passed down from parents to child, and they have a daughter that is biologically there, so she is the magic, has magic, and then our main character Wiley doesn't because she's adopted, but she does know like all of the spells that there are to known for healers. And basically this book starts off with Wiley's sister having to do like her initiation so she can get like full access to magic. I don't know how to explain this properly, I'm sorry. And she and her sister kind of come up with a bit of a scam, I guess, to get powers through Wiley, because they have found this like forbidden spell that allows a like person with magic to share their magic with someone who doesn't have magic. So they're kind of planning to do that, but like the thing is, it has to be performed in front of like the elders, I guess. I'm forgetful. I don't remember like the official terminology they used. Like for the council, it's the council. So, you know, things happen, and Wiley learns that she might not be who she always thought she was, and there's a lot going on. I don't want to spoil too much because I thought this was a brilliant middle grade novel. I loved it so much. Again, it's 4 to 5 stars because I did have some problems with it. Again, the problem I've talked about before is that the main character did feel very well rounded, and I really liked her and the development she went through, but all the side characters were as one-dimensional and flat as they could be. Well, there's some that have a little bit of depth, but most of them are very like one-dimensional and I don't know, I didn't like it. But then again, I did like the complete cast of characters. Like towards the end of the scene where like everyone's together, and I really like loved the dynamics between everyone, and I thought it was fun. But just, I don't know, I felt like just like the characters were a little bit one-dimensional. But otherwise, I really liked this. I really loved the magic of the world. Like I said, it's based off Korean mythology, which I don't know anything about, but I do like how the mythology was like integrated into like the real world, I guess. I always love when it's like a fantasy world besides the real world, like urban fantasies, and like it could be that this is real, but like we just don't know about the magic side of the world. Love those stories, and this was definitely one of them. It was so well integrated. I could definitely like, I love. If you love like how Percy Jackson, like that magic is integrated into like real world, like this is definitely the same. There's like just like little mentions that they're like, oh yeah, like that's definitely like one of like the magic users that does this. And I don't know, I really like stuff like that, and I think this book just did that brilliantly, and it was a fun adventure to go on. The next book I read is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn, which I give 2 out of 5 stars. Excuse how I look, but I explained this book terribly, so I'm doing it again and editing. So, The Duke and I follows Daphne Bridgerton, who is the 4th child in a sibling group of 8, and she, of course, has been introduced to society, some historical Regency romance. So she has been introduced into society, and she's looking for a husband because that's what you do. She's not as popular with the guys, I guess. So she has like a difficult time like finding a husband. And then we also follow Simon, who who has been on international travels for a while and has now come back to London as the Duke of Hastings. So he's like very popular. He's a very eligible bachelor, but he doesn't want to get married like ever. So to kind of keep the women on his back, he proposes the idea to Daphne to like fake a courtship between the two, so that like women will leave him alone because they think he's already like occupied with someone else, and Daphne will also like gain more popularity, like more guys will see her as interesting, which I don't completely understand how it works, but it works. And yeah, of course, this being a romance, they end up falling for each other. That's the correct synopsis. I have very conflicted feelings about this book because I thought it was a lot of fun, but I wasn't that convinced on the actual romance. I do think the two of them had like great banter together, but I feel like eventually when it came to it, their life values were so different, and I feel like especially Daphne like just wasn't that respectful of Simon's feelings. I feel like she was constantly like trying to manipulate him into seeing life the same way as she does, and I didn't like that. And of course Simon also isn't perfect. He also does things that aren't fantastic. So I don't know, I could never really fully get on board because of that, because like I said, they have very different views on life and what they want out of life, and I feel like they were both just trying to convince the other of their way. But for the rest, I really like the setting. I think Julia Quinn does. This is my first historical romance. Oh, by the way, won't be my last, but yeah, I think Julia Quinn did like a great job at transporting me into the setting. I thought this was very funny. I laughed out loud a couple of times. I really love the Bridgerton family. So yes, I really liked it for that. And I do like, I don't hate the romance in this, you know? I just don't think they were that compatible. So yeah, 3 stars. It's good enough, you know? And then the last book we have for today already is The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn, the second book in the Bridgerton series, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I adored this. This book follows Anthony, who is the oldest of the Bridgerton siblings, and he is awake, and people will just like assume he's not gonna get married anytime soon, but he decides, I'm gonna get married, but he wants a wife that he can't fall in love with because his father died very young, and he thinks that he will also die around that age. So he doesn't want to like be able to fall in love, or have someone fall in love with him, because he doesn't want to hurt that person, I guess. So he picks out Edwina Sheffield, who is the belle of the year. Everyone thinks she's like the most gorgeous person. She's also pretty smart, which is exactly what she's looking for, like someone who's pretty, someone who's smart. So like the children will also be pretty and smart, but he doesn't feel like any sort of attraction towards her and doesn't see that coming. So it's like perfect. The only problem is Edwina is very set on the fact that whoever she's gonna marry in the future has to have the approval of her sister, because she loves her sister very much. So then we get to Kate, who is Edwina's oldest sister, and she's one of the few people in London at the time that doesn't think that wigs make the best husbands. So she wants to keep Anthony as far away from his sister as possible. So of course it's gonna turn into their romance, and it's so good. It's so good. I literally finished this last night. I love it so much. Anthony was my favorite of the Bridgertons in the first book, so I was super excited when I heard the second book was his book. It didn't disappoint at all. He was so much fun of a character to follow. So was Kate. I feel like they're very similar, but they're also very different in a way that it works. It kind of is like enemies to lovers, and I love the banter they have throughout the entire book when they like are constantly kind of like butting heads with each other, but also like later on a bit more friendly to each other. Like they just have this fun and like witty interactions. I love it so much. And there's also a couple of scenes where they just like open up to each other, and they're both like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, because I don't like you and I've told nobody this, but like this just feels right, and I just loved it so much. I feel like that relationship was so well developed. The chemistry was there constantly, and I loved it. And then also just like I said before, I love the Bridgertons as a family, and I also really loved Kate and her sister and her stepmother. I feel like they had a very different dynamic from the Bridgertons, but like it was still a dynamic so full of love and appreciation for each other. And I liked seeing like these two very different families, but like both the families still absolutely adore each other and like are such close families, but like it's different. I don't know. I think just like having those next to each other, I really loved this. It was much funnier than the first one. I also laughed a lot here in the first one, but this one, so many jokes, so many fun. And I can't wait to continue on with this series, but it also has some other things to read, so I'll have to wait. But yeah, those were my thoughts on the 6 books I've read so far this month. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of these books, if you read them, as well as some of the books you read so far this month. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated? I should have played it cool instead of